Now imagine if you heard a frog talking to you. What would you do? More puzzling is what would you do if suddenly one day you just turned into a frog? All of this, of course, taking place to you right here in Jamaica. Well, this is just what happened to little Delroy in the fictional book, Delroy in the Marog Kingdom. The book explores the everyday life of Delroy being a young boy living in the Jamaican context, but takes a mystical twist as Delroy sets on a mission to find the River Muma. Author of the novel, Billy Elm, whose formal name is Helen Williams, is a retired teacher, having been living and working in Jamaica ever since she graduated from the prestigious Oxford University in the UK, and she continues to make a mark on children's education through her writings. Whew. Welcome to CVM at Sunrise, Billy.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being here.
First and foremost, before we even delve into the matter, why is it that you chose to name yourself Billy?
Well,
Yeah,
I belong to the Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators, so I went on their discussion board to find out how to choose a pen name, and they say the street where you lived and your first pet's name. So my first pet's name was Billy, a cat, and where I lived it wasn't just Elm, but it had Elm in it.
Okay.
And I liked the sound of it.
So you kind of used it?
Yes, I thought that was...
I have to tell you, this is a really fantastic cover though. It really gives a good idea of what is happening inside the story. And I had the pleasure of going through the book last night, and I realized that you've mixed reality in terms of some of the issues that are happening with our Jamaican youth, such as, you know, the relationship between boys and their fathers, etc.
Yes, yes.
With some of our culture. Why did you decide to do that?
Well, it was really on the instructions of the editor. This book was in response to a call from Joanne Johnson in Trinidad, and she asked for sci-fi, folklore and fantasy. Well, I don't think I could write sci-fi because being a biologist, it sort of goes against the grain, but the folklore and the fantasy was what was to be in it.
Right.
Yes. I know it's probably not is very easy for you to think like a child to write a book that appeals to their imagination. Was it easy for you or difficult, or did your profession as a teacher perhaps help?
I think my profession as a teacher helped a lot. The characters are drawn out of a mix of all the students I've taught at that kind of age group.
And the Marog is a man frog, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Right,
Yes.
so we have the Marog,
Yes.
man frog,
Yes.
and we have the, what do they call the woman frog?
The Womarogs.
The Womarogs. Right. Now, in terms of doing research, because you had the River Muma, you talked about the Tainos and the children and how they became frogs, all of that history. How much research did you have to do to prepare this book?
Not very much research, really. It was more a case of talking to people who were familiar with the folklore.
Right, because I remember even reading about the River Muma.
Yes.
And
yes.
how, you know,
That's
if she makes
folklore.
eye contact with
Yes.
You're going to...
That was I just went on the internet and found the Jamaica Library Service, Information Service, I think, had that piece of information.
Okay.
And you find there are different stories about River Muma, in different parts of Jamaica.
Right.
The one I read that she appears at midday, and other ones that she's there in the evening.
Yes.
And go ahead.
Okay.
No, the writing style, what I like, the writing style of the book, it's very interactive, and you've managed to use the Jamaican Creole, the patois, as well. How easy was that for you, I suppose?
Well, that I would say is the most difficult thing. I am not a native speaker.
That's the thing.
And it is very hard. And this was not the first book that I wrote. The first book I wrote has not been published. But my daughter is Creole speaking.
Oh, okay.
So she had corrected everything for me, and I sent it to the publisher, the same publisher, editor Joanne, and the first thing she said was, "Tame the patois." It can't be like that.
Oh, really?
Yes, and I have a critique group, an online critique group, and they are Americans, and they can't understand it. So this is a real problem. It's still a problem, is what do you write? So I say I don't write patois. I write non-standard English.
Makes
and
sense.
try and get some of the rhythm And that's something I need to work on quite a bit.
Okay.
To get the, the rhythm and the feel of it.
Makes sense.
Yes.
Can we expect more from you? Because the fact is that we don't see too many science fiction books that are based in Jamaica and include all the folklore and everything. But I see we have the Island series, the Island fiction series.
Yes.
Are you going to be doing more of this?
Well, in fact, I have already written a sequel to Delroy, but it's in the first draft stage. But then the problem is to get published, because I have written quite a few stories and sent them to publishers. But well, you know, they're publishing story, and I don't have a. I mean, you hear about authors who've had 300 rejections.
Right.
Well, I'd be bankrupt if I sent out 300, sent to 300 editors.
What has the feedback been like on the book so far?
Oh, very good. I mean, especially I'm very pleased with the feedback from children. Yes. Because they, you know, and from parents who say, well, their child doesn't like to read, and they want to read it, or they have read it. They've read it and they want to read more of the books in the series.
And where can persons get this book? Because I actually like it myself, even though I'm not so young. So where could I get this book or other persons?
You can get it at Bookland. You can get it, Sangsters did have some, I think they may still have some. Kingston Bookshop, and Novelty Trading supplies to a lot of different places. So in Montego Bay it's available at Bookland in Montego Bay, Fontana, Bohios, and
other bookstores across the island.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much, Helen Williams. Pen name Billy Elm, Delroy in the Marog Kingdom. Really a book for your kids to go out and read, or adults as well. You might find some interesting facts and really deals with some realities as well. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yes, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll have the news on CVM at Sunrise.